Hey everybody, the Tone's back. Here I am with my Raw recap. Yeah, for this week. Again, sorry, I'm recording this today instead of yesterday, but yesterday I was working, so. Here we go with the Raw recap. Overall, I thought this show, again, it was, 3 hours was just too much. I just thought, there was some good stuff on here, but overall I thought it was a mixed bag of a show, kind of hit and miss at best. We had some good stuff here. We had a couple of tag matches. We had a really good Triple H promo. We had a Meaningless Divas match, and we had Kane come out, and we had some god-awful Kane, Daniel Bryan anger management segments. Not a lot of AJ this week, and we had the continuation of the CM Punk Jerry Lawler rivalry from last week. So with that in mind, let's just get Let's dive into it. So they started the show recapping everything with last Monday with Cena and Punk, and then Punk kicking Lawler in the back of the head. So they were just recapping the last Monday to start the show. Then the show started. They showed Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler at the announce booth. Cole's reading some kind of a tweet or whatever from CM Punk or from or whatever, and then Jerry Lawler gets in the ring and says he's got something to get off his chest. He says that back at Raw 1000, he made a comment about Punk that Punk felt was a derogatory one of them when he said Punk turned his back on the fans. And Lawler says that when Punk told him to apologize to him last week, Lawler apologized to Punk out of respect for him being a WWE champion, so he did it out of respect for the belt. And then he mentions that this week he wants Punk to apologize to him for kicking him in the back of the head. So then out comes CM Punk. Punk says that it's like Lawler wants him to apologize for not doing his job or whatever. Punk mentions Lawler's comment about him turning his back on the fans. Punk says that what happened was he didn't turn his back on the fans. He did what he just clotheslined and beat the crap out of The Rock because The Rock showed him no respect. So, which is kind of true. It's like how's clotheslining The Rock turning his back on the fans? I mean, that's kind of weird. So Punk says that he isn't the bad guy, and it's because of Jerry Lawler's lack of respect that he showed him, that he showed Punk last week. That was why he kicked him in the head. So then Punk says that he says he goes on this great spiel here. Punk says that he's sorry that all it takes to get into the WWE Hall of Fame is to beat a bunch of nobodies from Memphis. And get into he's sorry that Jerry Lawler got into a slap fight. His career was getting into a slap fight with an actor and acting like a 14-year-old his entire career, which we do in the commentary every time the Divas come out. And Punk says he's sorry that Jerry Lawler was never WWE champion, and his jealousy kept him from it, and that Lawler couldn't beat Michael Cole at WrestleMania. And then so Punk pretty much says that he's sorry about the man that Jerry Lawler has become. So then Punk asks if Lawler wants to fight him, and he says to Lawler, "You're just a commentator. I'm the best in the world." And he said that he'd embarrass the King, and King says he's in there for an apology, not to fight. Punk says that he can see it in Lawler's eyes that he's looking to fight him. So Punk says Lawler will, they'll fight at the end of tonight, and Lawler will leave, embarrassed either because Punk will have beaten him within an inch of his life, or because Jerry Lawler chose not to fight him. So then Punk tells King, hey, the decision's yours, and then Punk, he walks out the ring, walks up the ring, screaming respect, and then Lawler just gets in there. He's like, "Hey, Punk, I'll think about it," and then he goes back to the announce table. A good opening segment. I thought they both cut good promos here. It was a good way to start the show and set up the match for later. Yeah, it happened. The match did happen. Then we got Ryback versus Jack Swagger. Short match. Ryback, of course, won. He got the pinfall. Swagger got in a bit of offense, before Ryback beat him. Then as Ryback walked up the ramp doing the feed me more bit, Swagger was sitting on the floor outside and he just screamed, "That's it!" So I thought he was going to get the mic or something, but no, it didn't happen. So I don't know if they're going to do anything with his character or what they're going to do with Swagger. I don't know. I mean, it's freaking Jack Swagger. I don't know if they're going to do anything with him. They'll probably forget that he even said that by next week. So then Michael Cole asks Jerry Lawler if he'll face CM Punk later. Lawler says he's thinking about it. And then we get our next match, Layla versus Natalya. Before that happens, Vicky Guerrero comes out doing the "excuse me" bit and says that this match will have a fast ending because she has a major announcement to make. So the match happens, and Vicky's standing on the steel steps all impatient and waiting for the match to end. So Natalya and Layla go back and forth. Eventually Layla gets the pinfall. Not much, it was a typical Divas match, poor Natalya, that's all I gotta say, it's like she's a great wrestler and everything, and she's she's not used well at all, Layla, ever since she's come back, she's just like, I don't know what the hell she's doing with her gimmick, and it's like in the ring, she hasn't really been all, like, crisp. So then afterwards, Vicky Guerrero, after Layla wins the match, Vicky comes in and tells her, okay, you're done, and Layla can pretty much split. So, show you what the Divas division means. Or, like her. So then, Vicky says that last week AJ decided to put Jericho and Dolph Ziggler in a contract versus contract match. And she was saying that that was unfair. I don't know why she was saying that was unfair since Dolph won the frickin' match, and last week she was okay with it. But then, she pretty much says that no one has the guts to stand up to AJ except for her. And she pretty much says, it's like, oh, I hope the board of directors is watching, blah, blah, blah. And she was saying that, she was saying that she should be the one running Raw, not some, and she put it, mentally deranged child. And then out comes AJ, and the fans chant yes, which I thought was kind of scary. And then she just slaps Vicky. She pounds on her. They roll around a bit of a cat fight. Vicky rolled out of the ring, bails, and then AJ's in the ring, with the usual, psychopath look on her face. I actually thought this was a useless segment. I think like AJ didn't speak here, and it was kind of like the, she didn't really do much. But I still thought the segment was kind of useless, and a lot of Vicky was just like talking. She was screaming. I couldn't understand a lot of what she was saying. But still, the whole thing, it was just like, it's like, why was she pissed off that that AJ booked Jericho Dolph last week in a contract versus contract match, when she was okay with it last week, and Dolph won the match anyway, so why be pissed about it? So then we have Michael Cole was saying that they're going to show clips of Triple H throughout the night, which I thought was kind of, because of, is Triple H retiring, is it game over for Triple H, blah, blah, blah. So they show some DX clips. Then they go to a tape segment they taped a few of these segments that were in Los Angeles that they're going to be showing over the course of the next few weeks. God help us with these. They showed Daniel Bryan attending the anger management class, and he's pretty much saying he doesn't have any anger management issues. And then some kid comes in with a goat mask, and Daniel's screaming no, and he asks the doctor or the counselor or whatever if this is a setup, and he screams at the kid to take the mask off, and the kid does, and it's the counselor's son who's going to be playing a goat in a school play or whatever. And so then the counselor tells the son that Daniel Bryan is a sick man and needs help or whatever. This was the first of 3 god-awful, painful, idiotic segments. I don't know why the fuck they're having Daniel Bryan in these anger management sessions in the first place. So then we get Cole again asking Lawler if he'll face CM Punk later. Then Jerry Lawler gets in the ring and cuts a great promo here. It's like he mentions how, it's like the Memphis no names that he was in the ring with back in the day were guys like Jesse Ventura, Harley Race, a lot of Bill Dundee and Dutch Mantel, who I'm not really that familiar with, to be honest. So Lawler says he doesn't know how long Punk would have lasted if he was in Memphis. So when Lawler mentions, all the other comments that Punk made, and he said that, the comedian he slapped around was Andy Kaufman, who he has a lot of respect for. And says that, it's like, you don't get into the WWE Hall of Fame unless you stand up to someone when you're challenged. And Lawler says that he knows he's not in the prime of his career anymore, and he says he knows he's not the best in the world, but CM Punk isn't the best in the world either. So Lawler says he's never backed down from a challenge, and he isn't starting now. So he accepts Punk's challenge, and then he heads to the back to get set for his match with Punk later. Like I said, it was a really good old school promo here. This is when Jerry Lawler cuts these kind of promos, this is when he's good. When he talks about being in Memphis or doing the old school, about that stuff. Talking about his wrestling, back in the day and everything. That Jerry Lawler was good. It's like when he talks about stuff like that. It's the Jerry Lawler. It's like the other one of it's like the making the stupid jokes, and then it's like it was like, oh, the Divas are out here, and it's like I was like, oh, Eddie Kelly has on his before the pillow of the week. It's like, that's the kind of Jerry Lawler that didn't that didn't work. And even it's like sometimes it's like when he's sometimes think all these like his old heel commentator jokes as a babyface just doesn't click. Like when his feud with Bret Hart, that was some good stuff. He was good down the mic there. So I mean, it's like he's good when they let him be. Like I said, this kind of promo here from Jerry Lawler was really good. This Jerry Lawler is good. It's the other Jerry Lawler who's all diva happy that makes me want to retch. So he was good here. Then we get Cena versus The Miz. Solid match, no surprise, of course. Cena got the clean pin with the AA. Of course, Miz and the Intercontinental Championship don't mean anything, but at least the match was solid. The show graphic, it's Fan Interactive on Twitter time. They have 3 options that fans can vote for the CM Punk Jerry Lawler match. They can vote for tables, steel cage, or no DQ match. Okay, then they showed more Triple H clips. Then to the second painful anger management session with Daniel Bryan and a guy who's named Harold here, who's played by indie wrestler Scorpio Sky, who was in TNA under the name Mason Andrews just a couple months ago. Complains about Scorpio Harold Sky complains about his boss getting credit for everything he does, and Daniel says that that's nothing. His boss is his ex-girlfriend / fiance, and she left him at the altar on live TV. And then she put him in a match against her boy toy monster Kane, and then he beat him at SummerSlam. And he pretty much says that, this crap couldn't get any worse. And then the doctor says, "Oh, the final patient has arrived," and of course, it's Kane. So then Daniel screams, "No!" again. He said, this is what he has to put up with, and just another god awful segment here. Then we get a Heath Slater type mentioning that he beat Sin Cara on SmackDown, and that his winning streak will continue. So then, out comes Santino. It's him versus Heath Slater. This was your typical WWE comedy, not funny bit here. Santino's got takes out the Cobra, and he's ready to use it on Slater. Then cue Oksana's corny saxophone music. She comes out. The Cobra gets distracted. Is all woo with Oksana. It's like the Cobra is all got a thing for Oksana now, whatever. But despite the Cobra being distracted, it still manages to knock out Heath Slater, or Santino manages to hit Heath Slater, and Santino beats him. So much for Heath Slater's winning streak. This whole thing with the Cobra being real and having it be smitten with Oksana is just painfully idiotic. It's not funny at all. I don't know what the fuck Vince McMahon is thinking. It's like, oh yeah, this is really funny. It's like, I know you market the kid, but it's like you're not marketing. It's like Vince, you're not marketing the kid. You're marketing. It's like this crap that you're marketing that you're coming up with is like this is just to make yourself laugh, and it's like you're marketing for jackasses. You're marketing. It's like only idiots would find this shit funny. And apparently you're an idiot, Vince, because you and Creative came up with this shit. So then before we get our tag match next. We did Funkasaurus, Brodus Clay coming out with Funkadactyls. One of them, Cameron, who actually got arrested for DUI or whatever, 2 days before couple days before this happened. That's going, you dumbass. So he comes out and does his bit. Then out comes Sin Cara to team up with him. Kind of an odd teaming. And so they face Damien Sandow and Cody Rhodes. So Damien Sandow comes out and says he's the intellectual savior and martyr, and he's experienced a miracle. He finally found someone that he could have an intelligent conversation with, and that being his partner, Cody Rhodes. So then Cody comes out and says that Brodus has the girth of most of the fans, and Sin Cara has their hideous looks. But he says that at least Sin Cara is considerate enough to wear a mask, for now. This whole thing with Cody being obsessed with unmasking Sin Cara is ridiculous. So we get Brodus Clay and Sin Cara versus Damien Sandow, Cody Rhodes. Brodus pins Cody for the win. It was a decent match. Cody was going for the springboard kick off the ropes on Brodus, but Brodus headbutted him, gave him a splash, 1, 2, 3. Then afterward, Brodus does his bit with the Funkadactyl and brings the kids in the ring, and Sin Cara, and they're doing the whole stupid bit. Okay, so then back to Kane and Daniel Bryan and anger management. The doctor asks Kane if he's more comfortable taking his mask off, his helmet, so he takes it off, and the guy asks Kane, Kane of course has his regular mask on, he asks Kane what makes him angry, and Daniel says that asking him that is a bad idea, and then Kane just talks about the whole history of his character, about, about how he was locked in the basement, he suffered emotional scars because Undertaker killed their parents, he burying Undertaker alive twice, setting Jim Ross on fire, electrocuting Shane McMahon's nuts, the Katie Vick stuff, locking Paul Bearer in a freezer, and all the crappy segments he was booked in. And he said that he's obsessed with torturing Pete Rose, that kind of stuff. So then the doctor says, it's like, for the next session, he wants the group to make a collage. Daniel Bryan protests, saying, "What is this, arts and crafts or whatever?" And then Scorpio Sky. So after everyone walks out, Scorpio Sky comes up to Kane and wants to hug him. He thanks Kane. He thanks Kane for sharing his story. And then Kane just grabs him by the throat, and then he just says, "No problem." Horrible bits, painful, stupid. Why the hell are they booking Daniel Bryan in these segments? Speaking of Daniel Bryan, after we get more Triple H clips, we get him versus R-Truth. So what happens here is Truth actually wins by countout because they were outside the ring, and Truth actually gets the mic, and they were in Milwaukee, and he says to Lou Jimmy that he knows they were in Milwaukee because the last time they were there, he said Green Bay, and then the fans chanted Milwaukee on him. So then after that, R-Truth starts chanting yes. Then Daniel gets the mic and screams no. It gets the whole thing back and forth with the yes bit, yes no bit with him and the fans, and he's getting in the faces again. And that leads to Daniel Bryan getting counted out. And then Daniel gets all pissed and he throws around and kicks the steel steps. Then he gets back in the ring. He just continues screaming no. This was fucking horrible. It's like, I don't know what the hell is wrong with WWE and with Vince and uncreative. It's like Daniel Bryan gets himself over with the yes chant, but it's like, oh, he's a heel. The fans aren't supposed to like him, so let's take the yes chant and use it against him and have him chant no. I mean, what the fuck is Vince McMahon doing? It's like, once again, they take a guy's momentum. It's like Daniel Bryan gets over, but it's like, oh, wait a minute, he's a heel. The fans aren't supposed to get behind him. We got to take the mantle off from under him. My God. So then we get Triple H came out to the ring. His left arm was in a cast. The fans chanted Triple H, and after a while, he finally says, "Okay, let's go through chase here." It's like everyone wants to know if he'll retire. The fans chant no, and he says that if there's one thing he's learned about WWE, it's to never say never. He says he was hoping to retire from wrestling before wrestling retires him. And he was saying, he wanted to be in there and have matches and do things that the fans, will never forget and do things memorable. And he says that, every wrestler or superstar, whatever, comes to a crossroads in their career. And he says the time is something he can't fight. And he says that he's at that crossroads right now. He says he doesn't want to be the guy that was just hanging out or hung on too long or coming out looking for the nostalgia pop or just in it for the paycheck like Ric Flair is right now, or too crippled to hold up his own kids. Or, it's stuff like that, pretty much he doesn't want to be the guy who wore out his welcome and is looked at as a fucking has-been. So then he says that, Brock Lesnar actually made him, after SummerSlam, Brock Lesnar made him ask himself if he's actually done. He doesn't know. He says he's more tired than ever, and he's broken and battered again. And he says that he wants, wants to come to the ring and be the king of kings, be the game, and he wants to tell the fans that he'll rise again and kick Brock Lesnar's ass because that's what he does. And he says that's what he wants to do, but he can't because he doesn't know if he actually can do it. So then he says, it's like every person that's, this actually I thought was a good line here. He says, it's like every superstar or every person who's ever gotten in the ring have pretty much put their health and their bodies on the line, and they pay the price and sacrifice their own lives for the fans' entertainment, which I thought, that's a very true, very true statement there, So he says that, every person stands backstage, behind the curtain right before the music hits, and they ask themselves if anyone will care and give them a reaction when they walk out through the curtain. So then, Triple H says that he feels like the fans have cared every time he's come out through the curtain. and he says that the fans got him through his career, and he thanks them. He thanks the fans for letting him play the game, and he said that they all gave him a reaction, and he'll never forget that. And he says that, and he hopes that the fans will never forget him. I don't think we will, Hunter. So then the fans chant, "Thank you, Hunter," and he slaps a few fans' hands as he walks up the ramp. Like I say, it was a really good promo. I thought, him saying how, it's like the guys who do the, it's like the superstar, it's like everyone who does this for a living, who gets in the ring or goes on the road and does this full time for a living. They do sacrifice their own, lives, and they sacrifice, a lot of, time with their family to give fans some, to entertain the fans. And I actually thought that was really, I thought that was a good part of it. That was actually the best part of the promo, because a lot, these guys do go through a lot. They're on the road like 300 something days a year, and they really don't have a lot of downtime, and they have hectic schedules. I know they got one coming up after Labor Day, so it's like they really do go through a lot. They do put their bodies and their health on the line and everything, and so so the ones that get in the ring, they get in the ring, and they do a lot, to entertain the fans. I'll give them that. They do pay a big price for it, and they do pay a big price by not seeing as much of the family as they like, as they want to. So I thought that was really good. So then, before we get our next tag match, Sheamus and Orton versus Del Rio and Ziggler, lights go out, Chris Jericho's music hits, and Dolph Ziggler comes out doing Chris Jericho's pose, which is pretty funny. And then his music hits, and he's talking over his own theme music, and he's saying that Y2J will not be seen at this time because of him. He says he cost Jericho's WWE contract, and now the fans will never, ever see Chris Jericho again. Good promo. So then we get Dolph and Del Rio taking on Orton and Sheamus. Dolph got buried again, of course. Sheamus and Orton won. Sheamus got the pin on Dolph. It was a solid match. Ricardo handed Dolph the Money in the Bank case, but before he could use it, Orton gave Dolph a backbreaker from behind or whatever. And then Sheamus hit Dolph with the Bro Kick, 1, 2, 3 at the end. So, once again, Dolph Ziggler gets buried in the traditional, let's bury the young guy, and then when we want the fans to take him seriously, they won't because we told them it doesn't matter kind of way. So then Jerry Lawler's backstage talking to someone, and he says that he appreciates that's this particular someone looking out for him or whatever. But he tells the guy that he's got to fight CM Punk on his own, let the guys respect that. So then the camera pans to John Cena. And he tells Cena, so Lawler tells Cena not to get involved in the match, because then Punk will say that Lawler couldn't beat Punk without Cena helping him out. So then Lawler says he's not doing this for Cena, he's doing this for himself. So then Cena says, okay, good luck, King. Whatever, not a bad match. Or not a bad segment, I should say, Then out comes Kane, and Josh Matthews filled in for Jerry Lawler on the commentary since Lawler was backstage getting ready for his match with Punk. So then Kane comes out, and Josh Matthews heads for the hills because Kane attacked him at SummerSlam. So then Josh Matthews, he left. Kane put the headset on supposedly to do commentary, but didn't say a damn word. So why the hell to have him on commentary if he doesn't even speak? So point of it was, so Kane is out there on commentary or sitting at the announce booth as we get the thriller match of the night: Zack Ryder against David Otunga. Not much of a match. Ryder surprisingly actually got the pin. I thought with Kane out there they were going to do him coming in and flattering both guys, then no finish. But no, Ryder got the Rough Rider on Otunga, 1, 2, 3. Thanks for coming, David Coffee Man, Harvard Law graduate. I'm not going to Harvard people. Otunga. So then Kane gets in the ring, grabs Ryder, he goozles him, grabs him by the throat, and then he next he's going to chokeslam him. Says nope. Lets him go, then chokeslams David Otunga. The whole thing was very pointless, Like I said, I thought it was going to be predictable. Okay, we've got two jobbers here. Kane's out there. This is going to be no finish. He's going to come in and flatten both guys. Nope. The Ryder got the clean pin, and then Otunga got chokeslammed. Thanks for coming, David. Thanks for coming, Mr. Otunga. So that was meaningless. So then afterwards, we go back to the commercial, back and forth, I think, whatever. And then Josh Matthews in the ring. It's time to find out what stip the fans picked for the Jerry Lawler CM Punk match, and it's a steel cage match. So before that happens, AJ comes out in her second and only other appearance of the night. And she says, regardless of the outcome of the Lawler Punk cage match, Punk will defend the WWE title at Night of Champions against her choice, John Cena. Who else? So what the hell was the point of having CM Punk being allowed to pick his opponent for Night of Champions if AJ said, okay, Punk is facing Cena at Night of Champions? The hell was the point of that? And I didn't even get it last week either. It's like Punk was going to pick Cena, and then Cena told Punk not to pick him. But if he didn't pick him, he has no respect for himself or the belt. That didn't make sense to me either. So, and then the whole thing didn't mean anything anyway because AJ just said that Punk will defend the title against Cena. So then we get the cage rolling down. We get CM Punk and Jerry Lawler in the cage. It wasn't really much of a match. It was a typical, Punk dominated and Lawler made a comeback here, a bit here and there. It was the kind of, it's like younger heel dominating and the older veteran babyface makes a comeback, that kind of a match. And then eventually Punk got the Anaconda Vice on Jerry Lawler and Lawler tapped out, so Punk got the submission win. It was a solid match. I was okay with it. I was okay with the story they told here. Like I said, Punk dominated most of it. Lawler got into some offense here and there. So then afterwards, CM Punk goes out of the ring. First he gets the mic, then he looks under the ring, takes out a toolbox, dumps everything out of it, and then grabs a steel chain, comes back into the cage, and locks the cage door with the steel chain. Then Punk gets Lawler in the chin lock, and he's got the mic, and he says that he knows Lawler only has one arm, but he knows his mouth works just fine. So he's got Lawler in the chin lock, and he wants Lawler to say that Punk is the best in the world. And Lawler goes, hell no! So then Punk pounds on Lawler for a bit, and he tells him to say it again. And actually, before I continue, CM Punk actually was bleeding in the match. From what I heard, it wasn't hard way. He did bleed. But anyway, back to this. CM Punk has Lawler in the chin lock and demands that Jerry Lawler say that Punk is the best in the world. Of course, Lawler won't say it. So then John Cena comes out, attempts to open the cage door, and I was surprised he actually didn't try climbing the cage. So then he runs over to the ring crew guys and tells, "Here's the cage!" And then Punk is kneeing Lawler in the head, and he's pretty much smothering him with his knee on his throat or whatever. And then as they're raising the cage, as that's happening, Cena's screaming to Punk that Punk was going over the line here. And then Punk gets the mic and he still has the mic and he says, he's the best wrestler in the world. And as they're racing the cage, Cena heads in and Punk slides out up the ramp. And then Cena was checking on Lawler then the show. I thought this was actually a good ending here. Like I said, Punk was good here. And they didn't have Cena come in and just dominate and do the whole Super Cena. They didn't have him AA Punk or clothesline him out of the ring and do the whole, you can't see me, Punk, I'm going to take the belt of Night of Champions. They didn't do all that crap. So CM Punk got the upper hand here to pretty much end the show. Like I said, so I thought the show was, and that was the show. So I thought it was a mixed bag. The Lawler Punk stuff was really good. The opening promo was good. I thought the cage match, it wasn't really like much of a match, but I thought they told a good story. I thought it was, I thought the story of it was booked well. The Kane, Daniel Bryan, the anger management segments were beyond idiotic, and it's like, no one with an IQ at all would find those segments funny. R-Truth, Daniel Bryan, same thing. It was really stupid. It's like it was just more of Daniel Bryan screaming at the fans, and it was it's the whole Vince and videos like saying, "Hey, he's a heel. Fans aren't the universe isn't supposed to like this guy, so we got to take the yes chant from him and have him start chanting no and arguing with the fans all the time." And it's getting stupid. It's gotten stupid. It's beyond stupid. Thankfully, we only saw AJ twice this week, and her segments were short because last week she was in like 4 segments in the first hour. So thank God she was only on the show twice. Ryder Otunga, again, filler, and I knew Kane was going to go after one of them. I knew Kane was going to get in there somehow. Layla and Natalia was not too much. That wasn't much of a match. Sheamus, Orton, got rid of Dolph. Solid tag match, but again, Dolph had to get buried again. But I liked him coming out. I liked Dolph coming out to Jericho's entrance. I thought that was pretty funny. Triple H cut a good promo. Brodus Sin Cara versus Damien Sandow, Cody Rhodes. It was decent, but Cody, of course, took the pin. Santino Slater, I fucking hated that. It was like I said, the whole thing with the Cobra being, the Cobra wanting to hump Oksana or whatever. It's just so stupid. It's like I have no idea why they're acting like the Cobra is real, and it's got the hots for Oksana. And it's like I said last week, it's like having the Cobra be real is just as stupid as having Invisible Little Jimmy being real. The whole thing was just plain stupid, like I said. And Ryback Swagger wasn't much of a match. Swagger got a little bit of offense, but Ryback, of course, Ryback won. Cena Miz was decent, but it was a decent solid match. But of course, Cena got the clean win there, no surprise. So like I said, I thought the show was hit and miss, at best. So that was the show on Monday. So that'll do it for me right now. I'll be back I guess on Friday with my Impact recap, and hopefully I'll get to see SmackDown, so you'll get the Friday doubleheader. So that'll do it for me right now. You can read my in-depth recap at TonyViz.blogspot.com. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel. Feel free to leave me any feedback. And you can add me as contacts, and thanks to those of you that have and share videos with me. Greatly appreciate that. And so that'll do it for me this week. So till Friday, when I'm back with hopefully my doublehead, I'll definitely be back with my Impact recap. This is the Tony Viz, signing off right now. And thanks for watching. Take care, everybody.